Hi, friends. It's March the 8th, 2025, and we're talking about loneliness, being lonely. Are you lonely sometimes? Have you been lonely sometimes? Are you lonely now? I sometimes, um, I sometimes wonder. Let me tell you a true story. Talking about where do all the lonely people come from. I'm just going to tell about one. A lovely lady in a local sports bar. A lovely lady that waits on people at the bar. She's too lovely. All the booths are loaded with guys close to her age. Did you know guys aren't always aggressive or assertive? Did you know many guys are afraid of rejection? I've watched it in this bar over and over. Hang with me to the very end because the very end is so sad, so sad that you'll remember it tonight when you try to sleep. So all these guys would love to date this lady serving them drinks. She kids with them. They kid back. They tell jokes to her. She she likes the jokes. And this goes on and on each time I go into that sports bar. She's there with a smile, beautiful smile, beautiful eyes. Eyes are just green and gorgeous. Smile, you can't you can't come up with a better smile than she has. She's quick to serve people. She always had a kind word for anyone that said anything to her. And I would have thought she'd have dates every night. There's no way she'd be lonely. There's no way she'd be lonely. What I didn't know was she was so lovely that people, the guys, were afraid to ask her out for a date. They were afraid of rejection. Yes, they were. Never heard of one person asking her for a date or giving her a business card to call her, to call him, or even writing a note saying, I'd like to date you. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. After a couple months, everybody was gone, and I was the only one there. And let me guess my Coca-Cola. She says, I got to close up. I got to close it up. I said, I'll wait here till you do, because I don't know how safe it is on the streets tonight. She said, I appreciate that. So she locks it up, and I said, is your car around here? She says, no. I'm in this apartment a couple blocks away. I said, well, may I walk you to your apartment? I want you to be safe. She said, sure. And then she invites me up to her apartment. It was a cheap apartment, the cheapest you can imagine. And I walk up there, and she says, have a seat, I'll give you something to drink. And she pulls down the chain. The chain is a chain that lights. A bulb. The bulb from the ceiling. I look around. I said, let me turn on the lamps so you'll have more light. She said, I don't have any more lamps. Well, I'm shocked. I say, you got any visitors that's coming in later on tonight or this week? She says, nobody calls. Nobody calls. Nobody stops by. You're the first person in about a month that's been up here in my apartment. I started to say, let me buy you a couple lamps so you'll have more light. She did have a TV set and a radio. And I said, can I bring you a few things for your apartment? She said, if you like. If you like, you can. A couple lamps, a clock. She didn't have a clock in there, except on this one radio. She had a low radio, and it was a clock on it. I said, all those guys down there at the bar, don't they call you up and want to take you out? She says, not yet. How long you been working at that sports bar? 6 months. I know what the problem was. They didn't think she'd go out with them. They were afraid of rejection. I thought to myself, I wasn't even thinking about being rejected. I was just trying to be sure she got home safely. And she invited me up for a drink. She said, "Would you like something to eat?" She said, "I can fix you a sandwich." She says, "I have bologna, but fresh Ackridge bologna and mustard and good fresh bread." I said, "Yeah." Someone had paid me $100 bill, $100 bill that week for a service I had done for them. And when she went to get the sandwich, I put that $100 down where she wouldn't notice it on a table. I thought, oh my God, how can someone be so lonely? And she brought, it was thick bologna. And it was, the bread was whole wheat. And the mustard was good. It was horseradish mustard. She fixed herself one too, and we laughed. We joked. And as the time came that I was going to leave, she says, would you mind visiting me again? She says, I'm so lonely. Of course I will. As often as you'd like, as often as you'd like to have company. Here's my phone number. She says, well, here's my phone number too. And I thought to myself, how many lonely people are there like her? If I had to guess her age, it'd be 22 or 29, somewhere around 22 to 29. I started to ask her if tips were good, but I thought I better not. That wouldn't be appropriate. I said, anytime you feel fearful about walking to your apartment, call me up. But I'll be calling in the meantime just to check and see if things are going okay. with you. And she walked me to the door. She hugged me for a long time. For a real long time. And said, we're going to get together soon, aren't we? And I said, yes. Yes, we'll get together soon. All the lonely people, where do they come from? Why are the guys so afraid? Thanks for tuning in tonight and visiting me. If you like this, please hit like and please subscribe. I usually don't ask people to subscribe. But I only have, can you see this? I only got 379 subscribers. And I asked myself, why don't people like what I do? Thanks for listening. We'll talk again soon, won't we?